Hello everyone, I welcome you in the virtual classroom of business environment. We are discussing unit number 4, public finance. Into that we are discussing the tools of public finance. In last lecture we have completed 2 tools, and in this lecture we are going to complete the remaining tools. In last lecture we have dealt with public revenue and public expenditure, and in today's lecture we are going to deal with public debt and deficit finance. Let us see in detail. Public debt. Public debt is the money that government or government branch owes other entities at any given time. It is composed of different categories of debt. It may be internal or external. Most of public debts are external debt. Public debt simply means when government takes loan from anyone, it becomes public debt. As written here, that there are two types of public debt, that is internal and external. When government raises loan within an economy, within a country, it is known as internal debt. And if government takes loan outside the country from other government or any other institution, it becomes external debt. In this image also it is written that money or credit owed by any level of government, indirect debt or taxpayers. Any level of government means it is not necessarily that central government raises the loan. It may be state government or it may be local government. It indirectly becomes the debt of a taxpayer, because whatever the revenue of public is a revenue of people. Likewise, whatever the debt of government is also a debt of public only. So it becomes indirect debt for the taxpayer. As we have seen that there are two types of debt, internal debt and external debt. Let us first of all see the effect of internal public debt. At the time of starting the discussion of these tools, I have told you that these tools we are discussing from the viewpoint of controlling inflation and recession. So here also we will see that how internal debt is used for controlling inflation and recession. In inflation, government increases the public debt. Means in inflation, government increases the loan. Why? Because in inflation, market is flooded with the money. So to reduce the supply of money within an economy, what government does? Government raises loan from the public, so the supply of money will flow from economy to government, and automatically the supply within the economy will reduce and inflation will be corrected. Then in recession, government releases the public debt. Means in recession, it is a situation when there is a shrinkage of money supply within an economy. The money supply is less, circulating money is less within the economy. So to increase money supply, what government does? Government releases the public debt. If in past government has taken loan, then recession is a best time to give the repayment of the loan, to give back loan to the public. Why? Because in recession, when government repays the loan, money flows from government to the public, and from public it will flow to the economy. So in economy the money supply will increase and recession will be corrected. Then let us see the effect of external debt. In external public debt, countries' purchasing power reduces. Why? Because external debt means government takes loan from the foreign government or any other institution. It may be IMF or it may be World Bank. So when we are taking loan, our monetary value reduces, a country's money value reduces. You just imagine that if any person takes loan, then credit worthiness is on a question mark. If any company is taking loan, then there is a question mark whether they will repay or not, whether they don't have the enough profitability or the like. So when there is a loan and increase in a loan, there is a question mark on credit worthiness. Here, a country is taking loan and country's credit worthiness is represented by the money value of their currency. Like dollar is having the highest value because American economy is considered as the strongest economy in the world. So it is their credit worthiness. In comparison to the dollar, what is the value of Indian currency, Indian rupee? That is our credit worthiness. And when we will take the loan from the foreign government and other institution, the monetary value reduces, monetary value of rupee reduces. And when monetary value of rupee reduces, our purchasing power reduces. How? Because when a rupee value declines, import becomes dearer, it becomes very much expensive. Take an example that in 35 rupees, if earlier we can purchase one commodity, but after taking loan, that rupee value reduces. Here let us consider that it is $35. Now rupee value reduces and it may happen that for $35 we need to pay 70 rupees. This is just an imaginary example. For the sake of simplicity, we are taking figure that earlier for $35 we are paying 35 rupees, but after taking loan the rupee value reduces and now to purchase any commodity of $35 we need to pay 70 rupees. So in 70 rupees it will become dearer for us. Now the product becomes expensive, we may not purchase it. So ultimately what result came? That our purchasing power reduces. Rupee value reduces means in context of dollar the value reduces. Say for example in $35 if it is 35 rupees and after $35 it becomes 70 rupees, then it is not increasing but the rupee value is reducing. Then that will affect demand, production and income, and as a result economic growth becomes slow. If we cannot import, import is also necessary for economic growth, because by importing raw material we are exporting, we are in a position to export, it may happen, and production within an economy also increases by imported raw material. But if we cannot import, we cannot produce, and if we cannot produce, then GDP will reduce and growth will also become slow. Then it may happen that some industrial unit may shut down because of the slow economical growth and new industries might set up. If some units shut down, then say for example 5 units get shut down, then in context of it then may be happen that 3 units get started in a economy. Then this is all about the third tool, that is public debt. Now let us discuss the fourth tool, that is deficit financing. First of all, let us understand the meaning of the word deficit. You are preparing the trading account and P&L account. And on P&L account, on debit side we are writing expenditure and on credit side we are writing the income. If income is more than expenditure, it is a profit, and in other words we term it as a surplus. And let us reverse the situation. If income is less than expenditure, then there is a loss, and in other words we term it as deficit. Getting it? So deficit simply means when government's revenue is less as compared to government's expenditure. By budget, government decides from where they will earn and from there where they will expend. So in budget, revenue is less and expenditure is more, so it results into deficit. So gap between income and expenditure, negative gap between income and expenditure is known as a deficit. And to bridge the gap of this deficit, financing tool is used, that is known as a deficit financing. Let us understand in detail. Deficit financing is a method of meeting government's deficit through the creation of new money. I have told you to bridge the gap of deficit, financing is used. Then what kind of financing we are using? Through the creation of new money. Creation of new money simply means printing new money. It is in the hand of government how much to print. Getting it? So when in budget there is a loss, government prints new money. It sounds bit ridiculous, but wait for the complete discussion. The deficit is the gap caused by the excess of government expenditure over its receipt. As I told you that deficit simply means when expenditure is more than receipt, the gap is known as a deficit. The expenditure includes disbursement on revenue as well as on capital account. Government expenditure, as we have seen in the last lecture, that there are two types of expenditure, that is revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. Both expenditure increases on revenue as well as on capital account. The receipts similarly comprise revenue on current account as well as capital account. Like if expenditure is of two type, revenue expenditure and capital expenditure, likewise revenue is also of two type, like revenue expenditure and revenue receipts and capital receipts. The receipts similarly comprises revenue on current account as well as on capital account. Current means revenue, capital means once in a while. Creation of new money to make the deficit in use for a long time. Why we need deficit financing? For developing countries like India, higher economic growth is a priority. A higher economic growth requires finance. In developing phase, when any economy is there, the first and foremost importance is of growth. Because of the growth only you can remain in a developing phase and you can switch to the developed phase. If you cannot grow, you may fall behind to the underdeveloped phase. So just to maintain, if we cannot improve our situation, then for maintenance also economic growth is required. With the private sector being shy of making huge expenditure, private sector means a public who are having limited resources and they may have the fear of losing, and because of that reason they are hesitating to expend more, they are hesitating to undertake any huge project. The responsibility of drawing financial resource rests on the government. Take an example of building roads. Building a road requires the fund of crores of rupees. It may happen that if a private people manage to have a fund, they cannot wait for the return for a longer period of time, and that is why private people will never come ahead for building a road. That is why it comes on the shoulder of government to build road within an economy. So any area where private investors cannot come, it automatically becomes the responsibility of government. Often both the tax and non-tax revenue fail to mobilize enough resources just through taxes. Deficit is often funded through borrowings or printing new currency notes. So whatever the investment has to be made by government needs to arrange from the public revenue only. And as we have seen that public revenue are of two type, that is tax revenue and non-tax revenue. But the reality is that government does not earn enough from the revenue resources, and as compared to revenue, it doesn't mean that government's revenue is less. The less infrastructure has to be created within an economy. No, infrastructure is a prime and foremost need in the economy. If government is not having revenue, then government should take loan. Here two tools are there, that the deficit is often funded through borrowings. Either government has to take loan, it may be internal or it may be external, that we have seen in the public debt, or by printing new currency notes. And another tool is printing new currency, that is, in other words, we term it as a deficit financing. Pitfalls of deficit financing means the negatives of deficit financing. Printing new currency notes increases the flow of money in the economy. When we are printing new money, automatically the flow of money is increasing in an economy. This leads to increase in inflationary pressure, which leads to rise price of the goods and service in a country. When money flow increases, inflation comes, and inflation is a situation where market is flooded with the money, and that is why the price of the goods and services also increases. Deficit financing is inherently inflationary. When you are printing new money, then by nature, by born, it is inflationary in nature. Since deficit financing raises aggregate expenditure, by printing new money, government spends more in the economy and hence increase aggregate demand. The danger of inflation looms large. And by printing new money, when you are spending more in an economy, the inflation even increases at a large extent. Retail inflation in India already shot up to 5.5-year high of 7.35% in December, breaching the central bank's tolerance limit of 6%. See, if the inflation limit is 6%, then it is a tolerable. Inflation is good sign of economy because it is the inflation where we can see that the economy is growing, but that too much of anything is destroying. If inflation is more than 6%, in India we have experienced it as 7.35%, then what does it mean? That growth is there, but more than growth, there is a increase in a price of goods and services. Then what happens? That ultimately the rupee value will decline. If a moderate inflation is there, then it is a very good sign of a healthy economy. But if there is a too much inflation, then ultimately the rupee value declines. You know that in 1970, you just see the size of a 1 rupee coin, and you just see the size of 1 rupee coin in 2020. This is not only size, but it also represents how much the value of 1 rupee is. In 1970, the purchasing power of 1 rupee is too much. And in 2020, the purchasing power of 1 rupee is according to the size of that coin only. So why that we have experienced? Because of the intolerable inflation within an economy. Central bank's limit of 6% and confirming fears raised by some economists that India is entering a phase of slow growth and raising price. If inflation is more, then growth is there, but growth is slow, but rising price is more. That is not a good sign. Then, what are the effects on investment? Deficit financing affects investment adversely. When there is inflation in the economy, employees demand higher wages to survive. If their demand are accepted, it increases the cost of production, which demotivates the investor. As simple as it sounds. In deficit financing, as we have seen, that inflation increases. And when inflation increases, the prices of goods and services increases, means the living standard increases. Just to survive, to meet the basic necessity of the life, even you need to earn more. So for example, few years back 20,000 was enough to meet the daily necessaries, but due to inflation in today's period, it may happen that 20,000 is not enough. You need to have 25,000 or 30,000. So what is that? Your life standard is not increasing. You are still in that zone only, but you require more income. And when you require more income to satisfy your necessities, then you will demand it to the entrepreneurs. And if your demand will be accepted, entrepreneurs are always having a limited fund. They are having two options: that fund should be invested or it should be paid as a salary to the employees. And in inflation, you know that it becomes compulsory to, for survival, to increase the salary. And if they increase the salary, no fund left in the hands of entrepreneurs to invest. So where the root lies, it lies in the deficit financing. If deficit financing does not happen, inflation doesn't come, then laborers will not ask for the wages, and entrepreneurs would have fund on their hand for investment. Now let us see the last topic of our unit, that is the central budget. It was only given in your syllabus like central budget. Here we are dividing budget in two types, that is surplus budget and deficit budget. Surplus budget is for inflationary situation and deficit budget for a recessive period, means recessionary situation. This budget is nothing but how we are using these four tools to control inflation and to control recession. Let us see. In inflation, the level of demand increases against the level of supply. So to control it, we should reduce the demand and increase the supply. But how this is possible? Let us see. Public revenue should increase. Public revenue can be increased by increasing the tax. When tax will increases, the income of people reduces and demand will reduce. By public expenditure should reduce. When public expenditure will reduce, then money supply within an economy will shrink. It will get reduced and automatically inflation will be controlled. Then public debt should increase, means government should raise loan from the economy. When government raise loan, money flow from the economy to the government and automatically the supply of money within the economy will reduce. Then deficit financing should not use. As we have just seen that deficit finance is inflationary inherently. So in inflation, it is but obvious that it should not be used at all. So this is how four tools should be used to control inflation. Public revenue increases to reduce the demand. Public expenditure should reduce to reduce the supply of money. Then public debt should increase to reduce the supply of money, and deficit financing should not use. Then deficit budget. It is exact opposite of the surplus budget. Surplus budget is used for the controlling inflation, whereas deficit budget is used for controlling recession. But you may have questioned that why these names are given, surplus budget and deficit budget. You can see from this tool only. Public revenue should increase, means income is increasing. Public revenue, public expenditure should reduce. Your expenditure is reducing, so there is income is more, expenditure is less, so there is a profit, and in other words it is terming as surplus. Here you just see in deficit, public revenue is reducing, income is less, public expenditure should increase, expenditure is more, so loss is there, and in other words we term it as a deficit. So this is the logic behind having two types of budget, surplus budget and deficit budget. Deficit budget is used to control recession. How this is possible? Let us see. Deficit budget to control recession. Public revenue should reduce. Public revenue can be reduced by reducing the tax rates. When tax rates are reduced, people's income is increasing. They will demand more product in a market. So demand increase. Here it is written that in recession demand falls against supply. So our task is to increase demand. Demand can be increased by reducing the tax rates. Then public expenditure should increase. By increasing the public expenditure, the supply of money within an economy will increase, so it will alter the situation of recession. Then public debt should reduce or release. Then if government has taken loan, then recession is a best time to repay the loan back. Why? Because by repaying the loan in market, money supply will increase and recession can be cured. And the last one, deficit financing should use. You know that deficit financing is inherently inflationary in nature. Inflation is exact opposite to recession. So just to alter the situation, we cannot say that by recession directly inflation will come. There is a phase between inflation and recession, that is as a balanced phase. That balance phase may come if we are using deficit financing wisely. Even economists are of opinion that deficit financing, a small injection, a moderate and regular small injection of deficit financing is good for the economic health of underdeveloped and developing economy. Why? Because by deficit financing, a small but regular increase we can find in a supply of money, and when supply of money increases, it helps it helps for economic growth. But it is like a double-edged sword. Deficit financing is a double-edged sword. If too much is used, then there will be a situation like Zimbabwe, where every day new currency note is printed. Not only new currency, but new denomination note is printed. We are having the highest denomination in India, that is 2000, but in Zimbabwe the highest denomination is 1 lakh, 20 lakh, 25 lakh, and the lakh. Every day inflation is there, and because of that government has to print a new denominations money. And it was a situation where to buy the one packet of bread you need to go with one bag of rupee. When you go with one bag of rupees, you come with one packet of bread. That was the inflation. So if that much inflation will come, then it will be too much disastrous for the economy. It may happen if we use too much deficit financing. So there should be a wise use of deficit financing. This is all about the budget of this central budget of this unit, and this was the last topic. By this way we are completing the unit number 4, public finance. Thank you.